Today I'm trying 3 slow cooker recipes from Fix It and Forget It, Cooking for 2. If you know me, you know I have great enthusiasm for slow cookers, and you know I also cook a lot of small batch recipes, so this book really seems like a match made in heaven to me. Now this book is not part of my collection. I checked this out at my local library, mostly because I have had my eye on this particular book for a little while, but it was one of those things that I wasn't sure about, you know? Sometimes when I'm buying a more modern cookbook especially, I like to check them out from the library, sort of a test drive, a cookbook test drive, because this is something that is going to stay in my collection if it has enough recipes that I love and want to try. So far, I found several that I do want to try, and I'm going to make 3 of them here today. So I'm very excited about that. Not to worry, I am not abandoning my usual vintage recipe kind of video. This is just a little something different that I wanted to try. And it's something that I do. It's something that I actually do. I like to shop, try before I buy a new cookbook if I can. So I thought I would bring you along for that. And the first recipe I'm going to try is the south of the border macaroni and cheese. You can see it right there. They have a lot of good photographs in this book. Something I like already, just looking at this recipe, it gives a recommendation on the ideal slow cooker size for each recipe. So the ideal slow cooker size for this recipe is 2 quarts, which I have right here. I love my 2-quart slow cooker. I use it quite a bit. It says combine all ingredients except tomato and green onions in slow cooker. That's easy enough. It's one of the things I like about slow cookers. I have 2.5 cups of cooked rotini pasta here. I cooked this until it was like al dente according to package directions. Dry, I cooked about 1.25 cups of pasta in order to make 2.5 cups of cooked pasta. Also need 4 ounces of cubed processed American cheese. Sometimes I hear about it when I use processed cheese, but you can't beat that melt, and it doesn't bother me. So do what you want to do. This is what I want to do. I have 6 ounces of evaporated milk. So that was like half of a can, like a normal size can. I know they make the smaller, I think like 5 or 6 ounce cans as well. I just had a whole can, a 12-ounce can, and I'll use the rest for something else. 2 ounces of diced green chilies. That is half of a 4-ounce can. And I have 2 ounces of sharp shredded cheddar cheese. That's kind of hard to say. I shredded my own, so I weighed out 2 ounces before I shredded it. Pretty excited about this because I love mac and cheese, and I love a little bit of a zested up mac and cheese. So this seems like it's fitting the bill for something I would enjoy. So the final ingredient for now, we have more later. This is 1 teaspoon of chili powder. And I'll bet that you could play with that amount a little bit depending on how spicy you like things. I'm just using my usual chili powder, Gebhardt's, but you could probably use like chipotle chili powder, like a smokier flavored chili powder. I bet that would be incredible. Today's a good day for mac and cheese, but like when is it not a good day for mac and cheese? I'll show you what's in the crock. Cover, cook on high for 2 hours, stirring twice. Okay, well I'm gonna cover this. And I need to turn this on high. I always have trouble doing this from behind. And I will go ahead and probably check in about halfway through. Right, so we're maybe about 45 to 50 minutes into this, and I wanted to show it to you before I stir. That is what it is looking like. Oh, I took that cover off. It smells very good and zesty. It smells lovely. And I am gonna give that a bit of a stir as directed. It said that I'm supposed to stir this 2 times before putting in the final ingredients and letting it heat through. I probably won't check in again on that second stir, but I just wanted to let you see kind of like what the progress looks like here. Right, let's put that lid back on so it can cook the rest of the way. I forgot to put my mic back on, so. Anyway, this mac and cheese has been cooking away. I did add one of the next ingredients, some green onions that I've sliced. So those green onions go right in there. When I wasn't wearing my mic, I even gave you a good tip. You can resprout green onions. You just cut the tops off, stick them in a little jar of water, then you can resprout them again and have twice the green onions. I wanted to make sure to re-include that since I now have my mic on. I also need to add some tomatoes. It says 1 medium tomato, seeded and chopped. I actually have some petite diced tomatoes left from another recipe, so I am going to use these. I'm actually going to just like drain them a little bit with a spoon, you know, as I scoop them out. They do have the seeds in them, so if you need to seed the tomatoes, you're probably going to want to use a fresh one just because it's easier. Do a little bit more. Just thought, why not use what I have left in the fridge, right? Why not? So I'm gonna give that a stir. I'm so excited about this. I think this is gonna be so good. I just need to let this heat through for a little bit. So I'm gonna put the Lid back on, and I'll let that go for maybe like 10 minutes or so. There she is. So I've spent the last couple of hours doing some like just general household chores, and I've been smelling this the whole time, and it smells so good, so I'm very excited to try it. I'm just gonna try a little bit, and then I'm gonna keep the rest of it warm to have for dinner, because dinner's not too far away now. Oh, this is tasty. Oh my gosh. This is very good. Oh, if you like a creamy mac and cheese, this is for you. I think it could be a little zestier if you like spice. I would say use a spicier chili powder or maybe add a pinch of cayenne. That's a recommendation I make often. I do love the like little pops of tomato in there. I think you could sub in a can of Rotel. Like if you have that, just use Rotel, play with it a little bit, see what you come up with. I like it this way, maybe with a little extra spice. I'm probably gonna double this next time. Even though this is a small batch recipe, it's so good. I have another super easy looking and delicious looking slow cooker recipe for you. And that is sausage, potatoes, and green beans. I really like the thought of this one, mostly because it seems very complete. You've got, you know, your sausage, and you have potatoes and green beans. So a vegetable, starchy side, you've got it all in this. And this is perfect for a 2-quart slow cooker, which is my favorite slow cooker. Basically, it just says to put all the ingredients into the slow cooker. So those ingredients, 6 ounces of smoked sausage sliced into pieces. You could use kielbasa for this. I actually had some smoked chicken apple sausage in my fridge that I wanted to use up, so what a perfect recipe, right? And 2 potatoes that I have cubed. This is actually 3 potatoes. I have Yukon Gold potatoes here, and the ones I had were very small, so I went for 3. And again, I had 3 left in my pantry and I wanted to use them. So this recipe is proving to be a very good thing for me. Whoa, we had one little lonely guy that missed making it in. And a 1/4 pound of fresh green beans. I'm actually using frozen green beans. I like the fancy long green beans. This, again, is what I have in my freezer. I think it's gonna work fine. I've used frozen green beans in slow cooker recipes before, and they turn out wonderfully. So I think this is gonna work. I have 7 ounces of chicken broth. Pour that in. And it just says salt, pepper, and garlic to taste. So I have a frozen garlic cube. Sorry, there is a beautiful cardinal outside. I have my bird feeder like right behind my camera, so sometimes I get a little distracted by those birds, but they sure are fun to watch. You can use fresh garlic, whatever you have. I just like to keep those frozen garlic cubes on hand just in case you can't make it to the store and you don't have fresh garlic. And then just like a little pinch of salt. I'm not gonna add too much because I don't know what this is all gonna taste like, so I can always add more later. A little bit of pepper, 1/2 tablespoon of butter. So I just have a little bit of butter in there. I thought that was pretty simple. It is morning right now, and I kind of want to have this for lunch. So I have some cooking options. You can either cover this and cook it on low for 4 to 5 hours because I want it a little bit faster. I want it for lunchtime. You can cook this on high for 2 to 3 hours. So that is what I'm gonna do. And we'll check back in a couple of hours. All right, it has been roughly 2.5 hours. I wanted to let that steam escape before I got too close. That's what it's looking like. I mean, I think everything is done, but I think the ultimate test here is gonna be the potatoes. So let me see, if I stab this with a fork, oh yeah, that is ready. So now I'm just gonna dish up and give it a try. There we are. Made myself just a little plate. I think this would go actually probably pretty well in a shallow bowl as well. I wanted to use this butterfly gold plate, so that's what I did. I let this go for like 2.5 hours on high, and I think the other option was low for like 4 to 5 hours. Yeah, and I was really mostly waiting for the potatoes to get soft, and they did. I used Yukon Gold potatoes. It just says potatoes, so red potatoes would be excellent. You could probably just use like Idaho russet kind of potatoes, whatever you've got. Oh, this meal, this plate was a lot of like whatever I've got because I already had some of this chicken apple sausage. I always have green beans in the freezer, and I had some potatoes in my pantry, and then, you know, chicken broth, etc. Okay, so I have 3 components to try here. Let's try a potato first. They are soft. That one just kind of fell apart. Incredibly tasty, and it like absorbed all of the flavors of everything else. I ended up not adding a lot of salt to this, just because like a little pinch, just because I knew the chicken broth has a little salt in it. This sausage has salt in it, and it's going to impart flavor on everything else. Well, you know, let's try a green bean next. Get like 2 green beans or something. That is good. And it worked well with those frozen green beans. You could use fresh as the recipe requests, but you know, those frozen ones I use, they are just fine. They taste very good. And then finally, I'm gonna do sausage. I did a little piece because I didn't cut this up any smaller. What a super easy, super good meal this is. You know, it doesn't seem like there's much to it because there's really not, but it's super flavorful. Wow. Thoughts? I use chicken apple sausage. It just says smoked sausage, so you could use like kielbasa or turkey kielbasa. That would work as well. It's kind of chilly today out. We've been having just like weather all over the board here. When I made the mac and cheese, I think it was like 72 degrees that day, and we're back down to like 32. This is delicious. This is easy, fast put together. Yeah, very tasty. Well, you all seem to like my last library haul, so I thought I would do another little one, just a little one, because, you know, I'm actually covering a library book today, and that was part of my last haul. So in the cookbook vein, I have, you know, I'm pointing over here because my kitchen's over here. I have the book that I'm working with today. I also picked up America's Test Kitchen, the complete Make-Ahead cookbook, because I absolutely love anything that you can make ahead of time. Even if you're just making like one component of something. For example, I often make a batch of meat sauce, you know, like a big batch of meat sauce, and then I freeze it because you can use that as a component of lasagna or a pasta bake, or even just spaghetti with meat sauce if you're really in a rush. Chicken pot pie filling. Make a lot of filling, freeze some of it, you know, make it ahead. That just makes dinner time a little bit easier. And this is another America's Test Kitchen cookbook because I do love ATK. I have not totally gone through this yet, so I haven't flagged anything just yet, but they have a lot of like really good looking like soups in here, a lot of chicken dishes, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, anything that can be like made ahead of time, whether it's just for your regular meals at home or if you're having a party especially, that can be really helpful. Just getting all that stuff done because you want to enjoy the party too. So this next book is actually not a cookbook. Yeah, I sometimes take out books from the library that aren't cookbooks. This is called The Genius of Judy. The subtitle, whatever, the second part of the title is How Judy Blume Rewrote Childhood for All of Us. I'm a very big Judy Blume fan. She's written so many books for such an array of ages. The first time I remember ever like experiencing a book by Judy Blume was second grade. I was 7, 8 years old, and my second grade teacher, Mrs. Neuenschwander, shout out if you're watching. I don't know. I doubt it. Anyway, Mrs. Neuenschwander read aloud Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. And she did the voices and everything. And then after that, we read Super Fudge together. So those are my like very first memories of Judy Blume. Of course, I read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret when I got a little older. So she's written for young children, tweens, teens, adults, everything. And did you know, I didn't know this for a long time until I think I watched a documentary. She owns a bookstore in Key West, Florida. How wonderful would that be to go to a bookstore and then there's Judy Blume and she's like, yeah, I own this place. So I love her. I've read a few books about her. Actually, I have one up here. Now, I don't know if this is in print anymore. Letters to Judy, What Your Kids Wish They Could Tell You by Judy Blume. I don't know when this was written, maybe like the late 70s, early 80s. I got this on paperback swap ages ago. And it's like people who are writing letters to Judy Blume because they trust her. Yes, this was copyright 1986. There's a picture of Judy Blume from 1986. But anyway, that's why I picked this book up, because I'm interested in her as a person. I love so many of her books. I really, really do. So those are like the two physical books that I'm currently, you know, checking out from the library. Libby, I do use Libby. So if you have an e-reader, a tablet, even on your phone, you can read ebooks using Libby. So right now I have checked out, what is it called? My Family and Other Animals, I think is what it's called. Let me just double check. My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. We are watching The Durrells in Corfu, which was a masterpiece miniseries. I think the first one, like the first season came out in like 2016 on PBS. We decided to get PBS Passport, $5 a month, all the masterpiece you can watch basically. I've caught up on some things from previous seasons that I missed, that kind of thing. We're really enjoying it. It's a feel-good kind of show, and I wanted to read the books that show is based on. So I'm checking out, it's like a trio a trilogy of books. So I've checked out the very first one. I have not started it yet. So that's my little library update, my little library haul. If you do like these, I will continue to do them every so often. Okay, on to the next recipe. So for the final slow cooker recipe today, I'm gonna try out this chicken teriyaki. And that's what it's looking like. I love that so many of these recipes have photographs to go with them. Like, I would say nearly all of them, if not all of them. Yeah, I think maybe every single one. Selling point. Very, very good. It's just very nice to see kind of what things are supposed to look like. This is ideal for a 2-quart slow cooker. Love this size. And I've gone ahead and I've oiled the crock here just with some vegetable oil. You can use cooking spray, whatever you have. I just have like vegetable oil in a little spray bottle, like a glass spray bottle, and that's what I like to do. So it says place meat into the greased crock, and it says 2 chicken breasts sliced into 1/2-inch cubes. So I had chicken tenderloins in my fridge, so I used maybe just under a pound of them, and I cut them into pieces. And they're gonna come right out, aren't they? They're gonna come right out. There we are. And then it just says to place, the sauce ingredients in here. So that consists of 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 2.5 tablespoons of apple juice. I was gonna say applesauce. I had to pause because I was like, wait, what am I saying? And then it's basically 2.5 tablespoons of apple juice, 2.5 tablespoons of pineapple juice, and then 2.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. So I'm just gonna use the same measuring cup here. I'm just gonna drink the rest of this pineapple juice later. So the pineapple juice goes in, and then I've got 2.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. And that's everything for now. There's no additional seasoning or anything. I was thinking, interesting. I know the soy sauce is probably salty enough, but I was like, maybe garlic in here. I'm gonna make this as is for now though, and because I'm just really curious about, how it's gonna turn out. Saucy. I'll show you what this looks like before I get it started. It looks like that, if you can see. Quite a, it's a pretty good amount of liquid to chicken ratio. You actually do end up thickening this sauce a little bit later after the chicken is cooked. But for now, I need to cover it, and I need to cook it on high. It says for at least 3 hours. So I'm gonna cook this for 3 hours, and then I'm gonna temp some of the chicken pieces and make sure they're fully cooked. It's been 3 hours. I temped several pieces of the chicken. It is cooked. It is cooked through. So now we have to thicken our sauce, and that's gonna happen with some cornstarch and water. Let me give you a look at what the chicken actually looks like before I do that. See if I can get you in there. So it's very, very, saucy, but the sauce is quite thin. All I have to do now, I have 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. I have 1.5 tablespoons of water. We're gonna mix it together. Cold water. Sorry, I didn't say that, but it's very important to use cold water. Something you want to do at the last minute too when you're mixing cornstarch and water. If you mix this ahead of time, the cornstarch and the water are going to separate again, and that's not what you want because then you get a lumpy sauce. So I have to pour this in. It says pour in and stir quickly just to incorporate all of that. So we're stirring, and it looks like all of it's in there. So I got to cover this again. I have to turn the heat to low this time. And then I have to let this cook for another 30 minutes before I plate some of this up. Apologies if you can hear the microwave. I have some rice going in there. I wanted to show you just how thick this got. Let's see. I'm gonna hold this camera with one hand and stir with the other. So I cooked this for an additional 30 minutes with that cornstarch slurry, and it got nice and thick and saucy. So the only thing left is to taste it. I decided to sprinkle a little bit of green onion on the top of this. I think it, not only will it complement it well, it just looks nice, doesn't it? Just looks nice. And yeah, these are my resprouted green onions. Okay, I just microwaved one of those pouches of rice. Yeah, so let's try it. That is a very tasty sauce. I do enjoy it. I really like the green onions with it, which makes me think garlic. I think I want garlic in this sauce. It tastes good as is. Kind of like a sweet and sour. It says teriyaki. It's not as salty as a teriyaki chicken to me. It's sweeter. So I would add some garlic. Definitely include those green onions, I have to say. I know they're not in the recipe, but they do taste really good. This would be great with some stir fry vegetables or some snow peas. Oh, that would be really good with snow peas. I guess because I'm looking at the picture and they're in the picture as part of the food styling, not as part of the recipe itself. Tastes really good. I would add maybe a few things, but if you just have the ingredients for this, and you don't have anything else, I think you're gonna be pretty happy with the outcome. Excuse me if I look a little windblown. I just got inside from taking a walk and it is very breezy out there. So I've made 3 recipes from Fix It and Forget It, cooking for 2, 150 small batch slow cooker recipes. Now the big question is, will I be purchasing this book to add to my collection? The answer is yes. It is not here yet. I did just order a secondhand copy. So yes, this will be added to my cookbook collection, and I just want to walk through and maybe like tell you why, show you some things I really like about this cookbook. Maybe you want to add it to your collection too if it fits your needs. This book is part of the Fix It and Forget It series, I guess. So I did a video on the original Fix It and Forget It cookbook a while back. I'll go ahead and link that in the description if you want to watch. But Fix It and Forget It has been around since what, like the late 90s, early 2000s, and people submit the recipes. So people send in recipes to be added to these books, and they're tested and all of that. I find the Fix It and Forget It recipes to be very reliable. People aren't sending something that they're not sure about. They're sending their best stuff. So a lot of the recipes are very good and they work, and that's important. So one of the things I really like about this cookbook, and I did point this out as I was making the recipes, it seems to me, I'm flipping through just to double check, every recipe in this book is accompanied by a photograph. So the recipe's here and the photo is here on this page. You can, sorry, I know there's a glare. These are shiny, shiny pages. You know, it's not always necessary to me to have a photograph of a recipe, like what the end product looks like, but it is nice that every single one of them seems to be in here. So then when you're trying something new, you can have a little bit of visual guidance on what it's supposed to look like. And I know you're not gonna get it perfect. Like they have food stylists for this stuff, right? But it does give you a little bit of an idea of how it's gonna look. If it looks very different, did I do something wrong? You know, that kind of thing. That's always nice. The other thing I kind of pointed out is that every recipe along the top states the ideal size of slow cooker. And I don't think they're just saying like, you can only make this in this size slow cooker, but they're saying that this has worked best in this size of slow cooker. And I'm a huge fan of my 2-quart slow cooker. It's probably like, I have a big 6-quart, I have a little dipper. That 2-quart slow cooker is just kind of perfect for our household because we only have 2 people. And I get it, okay? I understand slow cookers. I understand freezing food, like making a big batch and freezing things. I do like to do that, but you have to understand, because I'm making videos every week, I am usually working on like, kind of like 2 videos at the same time almost. So I'm making like 4 to 6 recipes every single week, like new recipes that I haven't tried. That gets to be a lot of food sometimes. So it's when I want to make something in the slow cooker, it's really nice just to have like a small batch recipe to follow. And yes, we do end up freezing some of the food, or often it ends up as like lunches for the week for me, something I can reheat. I sometimes get comments that are like, why don't you just make a big batch, or why don't you make the full batch and freeze it? I get that. I get it. I focused on main dishes for this video mostly because that's what people a lot of times want, but there are so many categories. So here's the table of contents. Whoops. So we have breakfast, appetizers and snacks, soup, stews and chilies, main dishes, side dishes and veggies, desserts and beverages, lots of different categories. You know, it's not just for main dishes or even just savory dishes. There are desserts and things in here too. So you have a wide variety of types of recipes in this book, which is really nice. So let's talk about the recipes I made today. I started off with south of the border mac and cheese. And this was delicious. If you are a fan of creamy mac and cheese and you like things a little zesty, this recipe would be a good fit for you. I feel like there are 2 camps of mac and cheese, creamy and like, you know, saucy, and then the baked, more like casserole type mac and cheese. I like both. I mean, I'm not picky. I love mac and cheese in general, but sometimes people prefer one over the other. This is a saucy one. So this one also, I will say, reheated super well. I have since like reheated all of these dishes to have for lunch the next day or in like following days. All of them reheated super well in the microwave. So this is a good thing that you could like make ahead of time if you want to do a little bit of meal prep. But this recipe, it says it makes 2 servings. They were very generous servings. I think if you were not doing this as like the main part of your meal, you could probably get maybe more like 4 side dish servings, something like that. They were nice. They were sizable. Another thing I did and would do in the future, when I reheated this mac and cheese for my lunch, I added some black beans to it. That was so good. If I were to make this again, that might be something that I do at the last moment when you put the tomatoes in and the green onions, add some black beans, like maybe half a can or so. Very good with this. And of course adds extra protein and fiber. Makes it a little bit heartier, you know, beefs it up a little bit, beans it up a little bit to make it more of a main dish even. I really like this one. I think I said I would double this. This would be great to take to a potluck, like size this recipe up a little bit and make it in a big slow cooker and take it somewhere because I think people really like it. It would go well. The second recipe was sausage, potatoes, and green beans. And it's exactly what it says it is. It's sausage, potatoes, and green beans. I loved this one because it was a complete meal. Like you could just throw all these things in the slow cooker and you don't have to make anything else. You don't have to make any side dishes. You don't have to do anything. So this would be great. I think if you were at home doing some like household chores, there's very little prep that goes with this. Yeah, you have to dice some potatoes and cut up the sausage, but that's about it. I didn't even peel my potatoes. It just says cubed. I can't really tell if they did theirs, but like the peels of my potatoes, they were yellow potatoes and it was like very thin peel. This was delicious. This reheated very well the next day. Honestly, I think kind of cost effective. I was just at Meijer today and they had kielbasa on sale. I was very tempted to grab one and just like stick it in the freezer for later. This was also, for me in particular, a great dish to use up a few things that I had in my fridge and pantry. Yeah, it just says 6 ounces smoked sausage. I used chicken sausage. You could use turkey. You could use like turkey sausage, like turkey kielbasa or regular kielbasa, whatever you prefer and whatever you like. And then finally, I made chicken teriyaki. And this was super tasty too. Super easy, reheated so well. I just had that one today for lunch actually. I wouldn't call it teriyaki though. Like, and maybe that's just, I don't know if I have like a different view of what teriyaki is. It wasn't as like savory and salty, I guess. I mean, I know teriyaki usually has some sweetness, but this was more of a sweeter sauce. So be aware of that going in, but it did taste good. I mean, no, don't get me wrong, like it was delicious. I would add some garlic and I was thinking just to zest it up a little bit, maybe some red pepper flakes too would be nice in this. You could also add vegetables. I did add some frozen vegetables when I reheated this for my lunch. This would also make a great meal prep, I think. Have you tried anything from this cookbook? Do you have a favorite slow cooker recipe? I'd love to hear about it, so please leave me a comment down below. I'd like to say a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join us over there, I'll have a link in the description so that you can do that. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.